Welcome to Greatest Golfer. I am Todd Franco, Greatest Guru. Glad to have you on this cool video. Welcome to Greatest Golfer channel, all things golf, all things life, and proud to introduce you to a great friend, Jeff Cavalli. Jeff, how in the hell are you doing?
Todd Franco. This is probably a little bit long overdue.
You're a pharmacist by trade, but you're a golfer with passion. I guess let's talk about the golf game so far this year. How you doing?
Yeah, golf game's good. I got the blisters or get the calluses on the hands, so working hard. I play out of the Avalon courses, and I live 2 minutes from the Newcastle course, and the rough has been 6 and 7 inches high, all spring. So
You're
it,
playing
it
a lot if you've got calluses going, or you've got to get some new grips. Which is it?
I think I hit balls. I hit a lot of balls.
You had your rookie season of Greatest Golfer last year. Was that right?
I did, and I had a blast. Yeah, I did.
Sophia, your daughter's played for a few years.
Yeah, I used to play a lot of tournaments, in my 20s and 30s.
We were glad to have you last year, and I'm certainly glad to have met you. Let's jump into it. In addition to your calloused hands from golf, you got a great mind for medicine with your life as a pharmacist at Hometown Pharmacy, and you got my attention. Again, something you hear about and wonder about just until someone like you grabs you by the collar and really convinces you to pay attention. But just the thought and the prevalence of ticks around us as we golf, and the potential for ticks to lead to Lyme disease, which is your son Alex's story, and I'm eager to get to that. But what should we know about ticks in our area?
We are literally at ground zero. Pennsylvania's been the number one state for Lyme disease cases 11 out of the last 12 years. First of all, the United States is number one in the world, number one country in the world for Lyme disease. Now you zero in on the 50 states. Pennsylvania has been the number one state for the last 11 out of 12 years. And now you zoom in inside the 67 counties inside the number one state, and they're all around us. It's Butler County, it's Allegheny County, it's Westmoreland County, and the Department of Health in Ohio is now tracking tick bites, and you will basically see the Mahoning Valley in the Ohio Valley is, I mean, it's ground zero for tick infections in Ohio.
Yeah, I don't think we're that much unique to North
Yeah,
Carolina or to Tennessee. But what is it about
no.
West?
There's a lot of factors that play into that. The terrain's no different here than it is in West Virginia, or like you said, Tennessee or North Carolina. But it's just there is a high incidence of infected ticks in this area. They're here. They're not going anywhere. We just have to be educated and vigilant to figure out ways to avoid them.
Definitely want to tag that your knowledge of ticks is you kind of are the Rory of ticks. Congrats
I'll
for
take
getting
that. I'll take that
congrats
compliment.
for, but so but it came about you really because of a family tragedy, and you were, as you said, you were clueless really about ticks and just another average Joe as far as how that stuff went until Alex, your son, came in contact and just had his life changed and changed the whole family.
Rolling the clock back a little bit, my son, he was like 16, 17 years old. He's running cross country in high school. In cross country, I mean, they run in grass and high grass, and they run through fields and stuff like that. So, my wife had noticed one day, I think standing in line at a grocery store, thought it was a speck of mud on the back of his leg, and she went to pick it off, and it wasn't coming off. And doing what mothers do, I mean, she picked it and picked it and picked it, and we were oblivious at that point. We're like, it was a bug, So she threw it away, probably in a garbage can at the grocery store. And basically 2 years later, he was a freshman in college. I mean, his health just fell off the rails.
Can you pause there for a second? It
Yeah.
took 2 years for the Lyme disease to fully engage.
Well, so I mean, when you look back on it, there probably were signs. I mean, he had fatigue. We had him tested for mono. We had him tested for all these things.
Yeah.
From there, it was a slow buildup, and then 2 years later, his health completely collapsed. And that summer, when he was going back to school, his fresh or sophomore year, he contemplated not going. We basically said, "Listen, you got to go. We started this. You got to finish it." He went back to school for 6 days of that semester, and basically, called us in a broken down pile of tears and said, "Hey, I can't do this. You got to come get me."
So talk about
So
this. I'm looking at a photo of him from 2016. and it's a
Yeah.
pretty tough looking photo.
That was basically 2.5 years into the process, and he was 94 pounds,
Wow.
completely emaciated. His case was kind of unique. We took him to Cleveland Clinic, and they detected the Lyme spirochetal bacteria in his heart. So he had endocarditis, pericarditis, and myocarditis. So all three layers of the lining of his heart. It had we not known what we were dealing with, I mean, it could have potentially killed him.
Since you brought it up, I was going to ask you, how close did it come to losing your son?
Yeah, so the number one cause of death from Lyme disease is suicide. And unfortunately, we had those talks, 15, 20 of those talks, over the course of a year and a half. And there were times when I would leave for work and I didn't know what I was going to come home to.
So he starts to come out of it. I'm looking at 2017. Him and Sophia are in New York City on a subway platform. How's the light at the end of the tunnel start to show for you guys?
I don't know if you can see it in the picture or not. He has a cane. You need a cane to get around. So again, I mean, this is a strapping, athletic cross country runner that he's hobbling around in New York City with a cane. So, and at that point in time, we were post antibiotics, and we were into kind of putting the pieces back together.
And then it looks like last photo we have of Alex, 2018, standing outside Pitt, looking like a vibrant young stud.
Yeah, so he started there in 2012 and finished in 2018. So,
Wow.
never got a B in high school. I mean, kid was a straight A student, hard worker. But here this disease, I mean, it basically robbed him of 3 years of college, and yeah, in the end, we did it.
So because of this episode, you've gone from knowing nothing about ticks, knowing more about your sand wedge than you did about a tick.
Basically turned into a labor of love. I mean, if I can pay this thing forward to to one person, I mean, it's 3,000-4,000 hours, just reading and listening and watching. And one of the problems with this is trying to get diagnosed and trying to get a doctor or a medical system to buy in to treat you.
Can we back up off the medical stuff for just a second?
Yeah.
I've got some slides that we'll talk about. But I guess
Yeah.
just me at the bar stool first. You can get bit by a tick any time of the year, which scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, 12 months a year. Yeah,
12
they're
months
they're
inside.
active. Yeah, in
Uh,
the wintertime, in the dead of winter, they basically have an antifreeze-like substance in them. I mean, they can survive down to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
is there any way to know the habitat that's more conducive to it when I'm out and about, or should I just be on alert all the time?
No, I mean, basically taller grass,
Yeah.
leaf litter, fallen logs, just on the brush of the forest floor. So, getting this golf, I mean, we could end this right now if we to just tell the greatest golfer community, hit it down the middle of the fairway. There's no ticks in the middle of the fairway, Todd.
If I find a tick, am I automatically should I assume the worst?
So, basically in Pennsylvania, it's a coin flip. 50% of the ticks are infected with something. If somebody's bit, or if a tick is embedded on you, there's a proper way to remove that tick. We'll get to that in a little bit. They've employed PCR testing in ticks. So you have an embedded tick that is on you. You pick that tick off. You put it in a plastic bag, put it in an envelope, mail it off to a tick lab. They'll do a full PCR analysis on that tick, and they'll give you a report to tell you what that tick is infected. If it's infected, number one, could be a clean tick, and at that point, you talk to your doctor and discuss what you need to do. But if that tick comes back dirty, or infected with something, yeah, now you take action. I spent a lot of time around the junior tournaments and with the kids and stuff like that, following my daughter. And it's pretty much the ages of 5 and 15. It's got the highest incidence rate of diagnosis, followed by basically 45 to 60-year-olds. So those are demographics. People that are out playing golf and active and running around.
When you're out at an event and you're outdoors and you're with, 100 people, are you like
Mhm.
completely fixated on this to the point where
No, no, not at all. It's been more than a time or two that we've kicked some ticks off of legs.
and on that note of finding ticks, I'm staring at a picture here of these pretty little suckers. They are kind of creative looking. Talk to me
Yeah,
about talk to me about the 4 ticks that exist here in Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Yeah, so there's four primary ticks. I mean, the deer tick, yeah, it's black-legged deer tick. And what you want to concern yourself with is the markings on the females. The females are the ones that are most active and responsible for transmitting most disease. If you have one of those on you, you pick that off, you send that to one of these tick labs. They're going to do PCR analysis against these diseases to screen that tick.
Where do I get, if I do find if I do find the deer tick, how do I get a PCR kit to send it in?
So for Pennsylvania residents, ticklab.org, you get a tick, you send it in, they PCR it for free. Ohio residents, West Virginia residents, it's a nominal cost. I mean, it's like 25, maybe $50 to get like a full panel done. There's a company out in Denver, Colorado. I think it's called Ticknology.
Do I keep the tick a certain way in my house until that kit comes? Do I put it in a
No,
plastic?
what you do is you basically go on their website, you fill out a requisition form, okay, and the date, the time, the area where you got bit, and you put that tick in a little plastic Ziploc bag, make sure that's Ziploc shut, throw it in an envelope, padded envelope, and mail it to them. The second type of tick is the American dog tick. It's got a white little shell behind her head and a brown, brown half moon behind it.
This is all visible with the naked eye.
These are all visible with the naked eye, yes, sir. And then the last tick, and this one's one to be concerned about. Whenever you see a brown tick with a very pronounced white dot in the back of it, that's called the Lone Star tick. This is basically the only tick that has an ambush property to it. So this little guy can sense carbon dioxide, it can sense movement, it can sense heat. If it's a 40-degree day out and you got a 98.6-degree human walking by it, and this thing will kind of ambush at you.
And you had said earlier that sometimes it's the smaller ticks that are the more dangerous ones.
Yeah, it's a smaller tick. So there's a slide, the tick size and engorgement slide that
Yeah.
basically shows a finger. It's basically an index finger, and on that slide there's four ticks, and those are basically the size of a dot of a pen on a piece of paper. So those are very barely visible to the naked eye. Those are actually the ones that are the most active and that move around the most.
So let's say one does latch onto me.
If the tick attaches itself to you to transmit infection for Lyme disease, the CDC basically says that tick has to be attached for 24 to 48 hours. So the question that we always ask is, how do you know when the clock started? How do you know the exact moment in time when if that tick lands on the back of your leg or behind your knee, like it did on my son, and you're not looking at the back of your knee, right? So how do you know when that clock started? But there's been documentation of people acquiring Lyme disease inside of 6 hours from a tick. So what you want to do if a tick is on you and it's latched into you, you basically want to get tweezers. I mean, anything that you can, you want to get the tweezers down as close to the skin underneath the tick as possible, and you want to pull straight up and out. You don't want to twist the tick. You don't want to agitate the tick because you don't want to put gasoline on the tick. You don't want to put Vaseline on the tick. You don't want to put alcohol on the tick because all of that stuff will irritate that tick. Improper removal could cause the tick to kind of get mad, and at that point, pass on infection. But as far as protection goes, there's a couple things you can use for protection. DEET, which is basically in all the common bug repellents, like Repel and Off. There's different concentrations of that for kids and for adults. But spraying your lower extremities, from your ankles up to your thighs, with DEET, because most ticks and most tick bites occur from the ground. And then permethrin is another thing. I actually have some Sawyer's permethrin here. This you spray clothing with.
Can you get that at the pharmacy? Can the family?
Yeah, you get this at the pharmacy. Yeah, yeah. But permethrin is something you would treat clothing with. You don't want to put permethrin on your skin. So DEET goes on your skin, permethrin on your clothing. Cedar oil, CEDAR oil. Rub a little bit of that, on the backs of your legs. That actually works in your yard. If you have a perimeter that's with woods, ticks will not cross a line of sprayed cedar oil. They will stay away. please don't take this as fear. I mean, don't let this stop you from going and enjoying what you do and play more. Just go play more golf. The thing that you want to do after you get done playing golf is you just want to do a tick check. And if you take a shower within, an hour or so of finishing outdoor activity, usually the pressure of the water is enough to knock a tick off.
You've provided us a cool little packet of tick awareness and tick prevention that all the golfers are getting this year. We're getting the hometown message out in front of all of our tee times, scores. So it's just a summer long opportunity we're gonna have to try and educate folks, and I'm thrilled that you gave me this chance.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have this chance, and I'm grateful to our guys at hometown, Gary Morozak and Ron McDermott and Bob Eckert. They were excited to kind of jump behind this.
Well, let's keep working at this. I'm thrilled that you gave me the shot, and then I guess when we get this, get some energy accomplished here, then let's get back to our sand wedges and our drivers and keeping in the short grass.
I'm coming for that 3 to 6 division, 3 to 6 handicap division this year, so I'm coming for it. So
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that. Appreciate talking to you, sir.